The Prime Minister has waded into that inflation brawl between Jim Chalmers and the Reserve Bank, insisting government spending is not fueling inflation. Let's get some discussion on this and bring in National Senate Leader Bridget McKenzie. Hi there, Bridget. Great to talk to you.
Great to be with you,
What do you make of it?
Well, I think it's,
with inflation being so stubborn.
Well, we know inflation's stubborn, it's homegrown, and it's impacting every single household across the country, and that it's higher than it needs to be for longer. And that means Australians are finding it harder to make ends meet each and every day. The fact that the Prime Minister is now trying to suggest that his government's decisions over the last 3 budgets have not actually had any impact on inflation shows that he should have studied a little harder in his economics degree at Sydney University, because the Reserve Bank Governor and senior economists all have made it very, very clear that both the federal government spending and state government spending across the mainland is actually impacting and fueling this stubborn homegrown inflation.
So what do you think the government should do? If it doesn't give the energy rebates, people will complain. And then if it fuels inflation and rates don't go down, people will complain.
Well, we need to be making sure that being in government is about making tough decisions. And this government has failed to make the tough budgetary decisions that have been required over the last 3 budgets. They've had windfall gains thanks to our resources sector. And yes, they've been able to achieve some surpluses, but they've pocketed a lot of that windfall gain as well. And we've seen the spend in the federal budget alone go up by in excess of $300 billion over the forwards. Now, that is fueling money into the economy. It is $300 billion ahead of what we had in our March 22 budget. All of that on top of state Labor governments' big build, etc. agendas is fueling inflation right across the economy. And it is not just the Reserve Bank Governor, it is senior economists that are saying this. So the outlier here is Anthony Albanese, and maybe he just should have studied a little harder in 101 Eco back in his day, because this is a simple principle of economics. What we need is for the fiscal policy to be running in harmony with the monetary policy. And right now, you've got a desperate Reserve Bank saying, please, state and federal governments, get your spending under control. It's not just about the energy rebates, There's a whole raft of decisions that governments make each and every day, and they need to start making decisions to rein in recurrent spending.
And would you say the childcare pay rises are a part of that, or a one-off sugar hit, as Peter Dutton calls it?
Well, the concerning thing is that this is another fix for the union movement. It is, heading into an election, paying some of our most lowest paid workers, our childcare workers, who we know work incredibly hard, doing one of the most difficult jobs, which is raising the next generation of Australians. But we haven't seen the inflation impact data of this. What we do know is that real wages are going backwards, and because inflation is staying higher for longer than it needs to be under Labor, low-paid workers like childcare workers are having more and more of their weekly pay eaten up by inflation, by their food bills going up 11%, by their energy bills going, I think, up in excess of 22% in the recent times, and their mortgages and rents going up in excess of 14% when it comes to the increases in rent payments. So high inflation impacts the lowest paid workers the worst. And that's what Anthony Albanese needs to get under control to assist low paid workers like our childcare workers.
Thanks a lot for your time. Always great talking to you. Bridget McKenzie, Nationals Senate Leader.